Hare Krishna, Sai Bhakta ko Pranam. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we
Hare
have Radhabhav Gaur Prabhuji also with us now. So Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I hope you can hear me.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Hare
Dandvat
Krishna Prabhu.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Dandvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Once again. Let me make you co-host Prabhuji. Okay. So Hare Krishna. So we welcome you all for this Throwback Thursday organized by ISKCON Shadripuram JSSS. So today we have our very great fortune to have His Grace Radhabhav Gaur Prabhuji with us. So Prabhuji is it's very interesting for you to know, like Prabhuji used to stay just opposite to ISKCON Juhu. So since childhood, Prabhuji is connected to Krishna consciousness. So it's our great fortune that we have such a very senior devotee who's practicing a spiritual life for so long. And Prabhuji has preached in many countries as well. So we would like to welcome Prabhuji by chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji, you are audible.
Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Just try to adjust. Okay, that's so nice. So you are based in Bangalore, Akshay Gaur Prabhu?
Prabhuji, I stay in currently Delhi side in Ghaziabad, but yes, I am connected to ISKCON Shadripuram, Bangalore.
Okay, so nice. I don't see Mataji today. She is not joined.
My wife?
No, Vrinda Mataji.
Vrinda Mataji. Okay, yeah, Mataji is in Mayapur actually.
I see, okay.
She is
Right.
not able to join.
Okay, fine. So we will further from here. Thank you for joining, and it's all pleasure to be among my God brothers and God sisters. It's such a great honor. And Namo Vishwadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutle Srimadi Jayapataka Swami Dinamani Namacharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayane Gaura Katha Damadaya Nagagramatarne. We all know how wonderful Guru Maharaj has been over the years, preaching, of course, when the whole nascent ISKCON movement had just started spreading in India. And in the earlier days, as we have heard from so many people, that Mayapur was developed from scratch with just paddy fields around and nothing around. So Guru Maharaj played a great role in establishing the Mayapur center that we have now so beautifully around, with thousands of devotees participating in different programs. Of course, there are other God brothers and God sisters who helped him also. Some years back, I'd been to Europe for some work, and I'd been to Paris. So I went looking for the temple, which was there normally in the same place where I had before gone once. But I found a shift it, and I somehow got the new address and I reached the place. So when I went, but it was evening time, Gaura just started. So I started participating in that, and maybe around 20-30 devotees were there, different countries, mixture. Like you had Sri Lankans, even some Nepalis, Bengalis, Indians, and of course a few from the French citizens also. So after some time, I noticed one senior devotee had come in, and everybody was honoring him. And then after the Aarti was over, the prasadam was served maybe half an hour later. So this Prabhuji came up and asked me also, where are you from? I said, I'm from Mumbai and I've come on a tour working in Dubai. So he asked me, whose disciple are you? So, and I said, I'm disciple of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. So when he heard this, he immediately hugged me, very, very warm hug. And just like as if he knew me personally. And I asked him, like, do you know him well? I mean, did you work with him, or were you traveling with him? So he said, yes. He had a typical French accent also. Then we sat together for prasadam, and he was taking me back to the early days of Mayapur. When Srila Prabhupada had gone first time to Paris, he was the person who had taken Srila Prabhupada driving around, because he had a company which owned some vehicles. and the driver didn't turn up because it was a weekend, and he had to go personally to drive Srila Prabhupada. So just by 7 days of association with Srila Prabhupada and getting Mahaprasad daily from him, from his divine grace, he changed and he wanted to go to Mayapur. So though he was married and he had 3 daughters, etc. And of course, Srila Prabhupada told him to come there and told him that, he has to be prepared for the worst. But he didn't imagine what it would be. So he was explaining that when I reached Calcutta, and from there, of course, it was a very long journey to Mayapur. And when I thought I would be in some hotel or some guest house, but when I went there, there was the same building that we see now where we have the Kirtan, which is Prabhupada to stay, just as we enter Mayapur. There was one Pakka building, and then there were brahmachari, small enclaves, very small houses they had built of bricks, but not even plastered properly. This was what was Mayapur. So he was telling me that Srila Prabhupada used to come very regularly in those days because the land dispute was very high. Everybody was trying to run away and there was a lot of infighting and nobody was giving the transfer correctly. So he used to be very much diligently there with Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Guru Maharaj. So I was asking him some questions like, how did you all survive there? Because you were totally from a different world with so much of luxury and things like that. How could you really hang on there? So he said it all because of Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. He said he was the person who was totally grounded, rooted. He said right from giving water to everybody, there used to be one water pump in that place. There was no pipe water, nothing, not even a well. It was just a pump and they had to get it to the whole community there who was staying. And Guru Maharaj used to make sure that everybody got water. And sometimes it was very cold. There was no heating facility. They had to use firewood, to warm up to what extent they could. Full of mosquitoes, he said. Like in the morning, I would be clean shaven, and in the night, I would be full of red spots, and I could not even recognize myself when I saw myself in my mirror. But your Guru Maharaj used to apply sometimes, he had brought some Odomos like thing, 2 or 3. It was a luxury in those days. And even at the cost of not applying himself, he would give it to the others. And he said, he would sometimes paste it on my back here and there, and make sure that I am not affected by the mosquitoes there compared to the others. He also mentioned about the snakes sometimes coming into those areas. Suddenly some poisonous, non-poisonous, both. And Guru Maharaj had a knack with his long stick. He had kept a bamboo stick with a fork, he said, that he used to somehow catch them, never kill them, but throw them far away. And he had taught those devotees to tie tourniquet also. When you get bitten by a snake, sometimes to survive for a longer time, so that poison doesn't go in fast. You have a tourniquet which is tight. It should be tight in such a way that it doesn't stop your blood flow totally also, but of course it controls the flow slowly. So he had taught many devotees to do that. And he said 2 devotees were bitten by snakes and they could reach Krishnanagar, which was the nearest place where a doctor was available in those days, to get some medicine and to survive. So Guru Maharaj was right there at the ground level, cooking, cleaning, and washing up. And everything he was like, one man show. And he never said no to Srila Prabhupada. Whatever circumstances, whatever cost, he would never say no. He also mentioned that toilets were cleaned by Guru Maharaj. That it was so much of a worry for these people. They had just come in from the West. They couldn't even imagine. And there were no Western toilets. They were all the Indian commodes. So very difficult for them to have that session. He said Guru Maharaj used to keep everything clean, even for that reason that he never even flinched. Then he narrated an incident that one day Srila Prabhupada came in the evening, and this Prabhu whom I met, his name is His Grace Ramdas Prabhu. So Ramdas Prabhuji said that my seva was to continuously fan Srila Prabhupada so that no mosquito would bite him, so he could concentrate on his reading and writing. And he was doing that, and suddenly Srila Prabhupada said, call Jayapataka. So he said, I went out, looked out, it was already dark, it was must have been around 7:30 or nearing 8. And I looked out and I could see still the small light flickering in that place where Guru Maharaj was staying. So he said, I walked towards the area, it was very slushy, very season, but somehow I reached there and knocked the door, and Guru Maharaj was about to sleep down, he said. So when I told him that Srila Prabhupada wanted to meet him, he immediately jumped up, put him his gamcha and came out and said, let's go. So as he was walking, Guru Maharaj was very fast. He reached ahead, and as Prabhuji was trying to cope up. Suddenly he slipped. If you remember, in many of you all who have farms or land in India, you would know that just at the center, the bund, when you between the two fields of different people, you have a small bund, 3 feet or 2 feet, just to have like a boundary where they can walk around. So he was walking on that and he slipped. He got struck because it was very slushy. One of his leg got very badly struck and he could not come out. So he called out, Jayapataka Swami, Maharaj, please help me, help me. So Guru Maharaj came back and he saw him stuck like this. He did not wait too long. He picked him up, he said, like a small piece of child, and he put him on his shoulder and he ran towards where Srila Prabhupada was there. And just he entered the door, he just quietly dumped him there and went inside to meet Srila Prabhupada. So this was a narration which he gave me. And of course, there are many others also. He told me some small incidences, etc. But nectarian part is that Guru Maharaj was so much committed. I mean, Srila Prabhupada's mission was on love and care. This is how Srila Prabhupada made the mission very strong. The foundations were love and care totally, because Srila Prabhupada was there early days. He did everything menial, everything possible to convince the devotees that you're not the body of the spirit soul by example. And he gave them care. And Guru Maharaj followed the same steps of Srila Prabhupada. So this is how Mayapur came up as per him and got stronger and stronger. It grew very fast later. But the initial groundwork was done by Guru Maharaj in a very, very, I can say, matured way, strong way, catering to all the local people, teaching them agriculture, etc. And it was wonderfully handled by him. And not an easy job, of course. So we are very fortunate to have such a spiritual master, to have such a personality who, even after so much of pain that he's gone through, he still smiles and preaches. In 2008, October 15th, was the day when he had come to Shamalesh. That was the same year when he had the stroke. So after that trip, he went to Mumbai straight and there was a GBC meeting. So on 23rd morning, we came to know about the whole incident when Guru Maharaj was taken to the hospital. I request all of you to one day invite Bajari Prabhuji. He will give you a very wonderful narration, how they brought Guru Maharaj down. It was so difficult. And if somebody had not knocked at the door at that same particular time, like Govinda Prabhu was there, Pandri Govinda Prabhu, we would have lost Guru Maharaj, because it was very difficult. Otherwise, we would have survived if he had been late even by 1 hour, 2 hours. But he'll give a wonderful class on that particular day. It's really wonderful to listen to him. So you should sometimes invite him for that. So, as I was saying, Guru Maharaj survived that and came out of it, had 2 transplants. And in the hospital at different places, at different times, he would always speak to the nurses, give kantimala, give prasadam. Everybody was anxious to see him, like how he's like preaching so much and with so much love and care. He would always inquire, even with those people who are serving him or treating him, how they are or how the kids are. And they would feel surprised that a person who is having such pain, such difficulty in their life. I mean, nobody would really bother how to do and talk to somebody also, because you're collapsing and your whole body is going. But here Guru Maharaj was never concerned about that. He continuously preached, and his preaching levels have increased 100, 200% more than what he used to do before, when he was fully in physical shape where he could move mountains. Here, even though he's in wheelchair, he's traveled most around the world more than what he used to do before, and still doing it, of course, and taken more classes and continuously. I mean, it's really mind-boggling to even think of how he's doing it. So this is how fortunate we are actually, and we should understand the power of Guru Maharaj's preaching strength, which comes from the parampara, of course, which is blessed by Srila Prabhupada and named, of course, as victory flag, so that whatever he does comes successful. So this is the love and care factor which of Guru Maharaj, which I just want to emphasize that he has laid the foundation for all of us to follow. Many years back, in 2000, I would like to also highlight how Guru Maharaj sometimes predicts that things happen for good. I'll give you 2 examples. In 2001, in Gujarat, I don't know if many of you are from Gujarat here, but if you remember, there was a big earthquake on January 26th of 2001. It was an earthquake of Bhuj area, and Ahmedabad was also affected. Many people got killed and they lost their property, like the same way how things happen in Turkey now. So there was one devotee here who had invested a flat, and he was about to actually travel to pay up for the money and take the possession. But for some reason, at the time, Guru Maharaj, he is an IT specialist. I don't want to take his name right now, but he was an IT specialist, and Guru Maharaj at that time wanted to do something in IT field in Mayapur, etc. And he linked up with somebody to have him translate something and do something for him, etc. So he was supposed to go for this money payment on a particular day, just a day or two before, and be in that and take the handover of the flat. But for some reason, it got cancelled because of this trip which he wanted to do for Guru Maharaj. But I think he was on the phone or something, and he told Guru Maharaj that it may be a little bit difficult now to get the thing in time, because if I don't pay now, they may find me, etc., etc. But Guru Maharaj just told him that whatever happens, happens for good. So take it in the stride. I'm sure it will be good for you. And 2 days later, on 26th, the same colony where he had invested, there was a serious earthquake. Most of the buildings collapsed. Even in the flat which he was supposed to take possession by giving 40 lakhs last, he had given some token money only, I think, and some particular maybe 10%. So that also totally collapsed, and his life was also saved. And many people had died. 750 people died in that accident, earthquake. So this is how sometimes Guru Maharaj predicts, and he's got that futuristic sight, seeing that we don't have. He can see what's going to come. And even on my personal level, in 1988, there was a project in Neyveli which I was involved with a company, and it was a German company that I was interacting with. They were our main guiding company, and it was the first time they had come to do the job in Neyveli Ignite. So it was on 10th August, which is my birthday. So my mother had given me some nice gifts, and I went to Neyveli from Mumbai. The job started, and in that year, the Janmashtami was in September, first week, if I remember. And I wanted to go for these programs, and I knew Guru Maharaj was coming there. So I requested my German boss. So he was extremely angry. He said, "Nothing doing. You don't know what is this. You have no responsibility." And somehow I persisted, and he agreed. He said that if you go, it should be only for those 2 or 3 days that you're asking for, and even if you're late by an hour or two, I'll sack you. I said, okay, whatever is there, I will come back, don't worry. So I went to Burkitt Road, where the temple is to exist, is called Temple of Chennai. Manuswami Maharaj used to be there. Our His Grace Ganga Prabhuji was a temple person at that time. And when I reached there, there was a bookstall just at the entrance in those days. And I had my bag with my gifts to my mother and some clothes and some basic valuable items. I just left it there. I knew the devotee. I left it there. Went inside, did some seva. And in that year, there was an installation of the DT of Sri Prabhupada. It had come all the way from Italy. Ganga Prabhuji had arranged for it. And Guru Maharaj had come. And Janmashtami went well. And the next day was Srila Prabhupada's appearance day. And DT installation was done. As he was going for this installation, the devotees were carrying it. One of the devotees suddenly slightly tripped, and Srila Prabhupada went a little topsy-turvy at an angle. He was about to be damaged. So Guru Maharaj was ahead, but he just dived in, and held Srila Prabhupada for at least two minutes till everybody could get the balance back. The installation was done, and we had good prasadam and all. And I had a bus, something like 4:35, from T Nagar to go to Kadalur. Kadalur was where the stop was there for Neyveli Lignite. And I had booked it also, they had this reservation system. So I looked around after the prasadam for my bag, which was supposed to be there. So when I went, I could not find my bag. It was missing. So out of desperation, I just had around 20 minutes to get the bus also. So I was in desperation going around here. I went to Manuswami Maharaj's room. He was playing a sitar at that time. I requested Maharaj if I had left it by mistake there. I looked around, I couldn't find it there. Went to other places, looking for it. And there's a staircase. I don't know if the old time I remember. There's a staircase going up to Manuswami Maharaj's room. And the second room, Guru Maharaj used to stay there. So when I was going up, Guru Maharaj was coming down, and both of us, he could see my expression. Maybe I was very much in a hurry, disappointed, and apprehensive. So he asked me what happened. So he said, I explained to him that the whole scenario, that my bag is missing. So he said, what is very costly? He said, yeah, there is some precious thing and some good gifts and all. So on top of instead of consoling me, he said everything happens so good. I felt really pierced and feeling that here like, not even you missed the pathetic word. But of course, words are always prophetic. So I didn't waste time. Then he asked me also which company and all. I said, I'm working for a German company. And he also himself told me that, if it's a German, make sure you work in time, because those people are very punctual and they'll go dot by second. So don't waste your time, just go back. And I went to a bus stop. As soon as I reached the bus stop, I could see the bus just leaving, the bus which I was supposed to catch to Cuddalore. I could see the board also. And I said, now it's going to be a big, big problem for me, because next day this guy is going to sack me and I'm going to lose my job. I was in a big panic. But by Krishna's arrangement, another bus came from a place which is little away from Cuddalore, going towards Neyveli. But it was not to have come here, but it was late or some reason it came. So I requested that driver, Sir Kadakumar, I just made some request, and then that guy told me, okay, I have a conductor seat, sit here if you want. I paid him some money, and then the bus shut off. After Tambaram, I think it comes to Villipuram or something in that area, just slight way of slope. So as the bus was climbing, suddenly he braked. It was evening already, late, 6:37. And as it braked, everybody got up and screaming, hey, like, they were all wondering, and they looked out of the bus. They could find that some bus had turned turtle, on the side of the road, and everybody was screaming. And our bus also stopped, and we all got down, and we went there. Many people already came from the village also to help. They were taking the people out. Some people were very badly injured. Then I looked, I saw the bus of Cuddalore, which I was supposed to take to Neyveli. The same bus which I missed because of the bag. If I had got the bag in time, or if I had made it, I would have been also in the bus. Maybe I would have been injured, or I don't know. But many people were injured. They were crying very loudly. Of course, our bus went on, and then I went. And right in time, the next day was a job. The German guy was very happy with me. And normally the Indians are not so much salary compared to a German. So they wanted somebody who could do this type of same job in different other countries. So because of that punctuality and everything, I could get a job in Germany. So I did work for a few years through this company only, but they took me on a promotion basis. And I could travel to most of the countries, wherever they wanted, I would go. Because I was not married at that time, I was a bachelor. Thailand, Jordan, Uganda, wherever they wanted. Any power station project, they would send me, I would happily go. And then I would go around, of course, seeing the temples or staying. Most of Europe I used to cover. And then because of that, in 89, Guru Maharaj had an attack by a mad guy in Spain. He was in Madrid hospital in Spain. And we came to know about this, but I was a little away. Our God bless Simeshwaram Prabhu had already reached there. And I managed to meet Tamal Krishna Maharaj the last day when he was being discharged. The last day we reached. I saw him, had his darshan. There was an Radhabhav Swami. I don't know if you know him now. He's in Spain. And he's also one of the principals of Belgium or Rajesh College. So with him I had contact him. He was Brahmachari. So we had darshan of Guru Maharaj. He was having a big thing here tied up and all, but very few minutes only to the last day. But because of this job, so I always think Guru Maharaj, if he had asked me to continue looking for it, or if he said, okay, you check and go, I would have not got a break, number one. Number two, I would have been in the same bus also, if the bag was there. So everything happens for good. So I still very much believe it, that Guru Maharaj's mercy prevails like that. Now, continuation of this, many devotees, when we are initiated, we'll meet Guru Maharaj, we have Vapu service, Vani service. But we always have a feeling that, does Guru Maharaj really know me? I've got thousands of disciples, and how would he remember me? Does he have that sort of a memory, or, does he have that time for us? That too, even I used to feel that. So let me now take you to an example where my whole feeling of this came to zero. I was totally convinced that Guru Maharaj's memory is very, very sharp, and he remembers the basic things that we think he doesn't remember. So now I'll take you to year 2001, when in Shamadesh, in Sharjah, we had His Grace Asakita Pranaya Prabhuji, who was temple president, and also Sugar Krishna Prabhu. So one day, Guru Maharaj those days used to keep his whole set of cloth, one in his house, one I think in Shivalap's house, because he didn't want to carry all that. In those days, he would not have a secretary normally. Sometimes he used to have. I remember he used to have Nandu Prabhu, who was disciple of his Bhakti Charusha Maharaj, who traveled Guru Maharaj many times, and Sakiras Prabhu sometimes. But otherwise, very few times, only he will have a secretary, otherwise on the own. So the best thing for him was to carry things light, and he would keep all his sets at different places. So in 2001, when he had come, he went to Abu Dhabi, and he had an injury on his left leg. For that, there was some treatment being done by the Ayurvedic doctor there. So when this treatment was being done, one of the days I got a phone call from Rasakita Prabhu saying that Guru Maharaj wants this set of clothes, and I am totally tight today, and there's no way I can go and reach him. Can you go to my house and pick it up and take it there? So I said, okay, I will do, but it'll be a little late. He said, no problem. What you do, you don't go to my place, because going from one place to another will take more time. So you wait there. One of our godbrothers, Shamari Prabhuji, who passed away in 2005, he will bring it and you both carry forward from there. So we decided to go like that. So when we reached Abu Dhabi, Guru Maharaj was staying in the house of Srikant Prabhu. So we went in. I had my set was there with me. And then I did pranams and all. And I asked where Guru Maharaj was there. And they said that he had just gone for a bath because after the treatment. So I kept the bag there, went around, met some devotees. And then somebody told me that Guru Maharaj is going to come now. Please come with the bag. So I went to the room where I kept it. I'm in the entrance part. Looked for this gamchas and all this full set. The bag was missing. So I was in a panic. I said, oh, Krishna, it's Guru Maharaj to come and my bag is missing. So as I was looking around, I came out, and Guru Maharaj would have, he must have waited for some time. And he just came out in his gamcha, and then I was there right in front of him, and his blue eyes looking at me strangely, like I had my face in panic. And he asked me what happened. I said, Guru Maharaj, I brought your bag of things and I lost it. I kept it in the hall. So for a moment he paused and he looked at me in his glint of his eyes, and he told me, oh, you still lose bags. So that really shook me up. I said, my God, this is 13 years back, this incident happened, and Guru Maharaj still has got such a clarity that he remembers an insignificant thing which happened, and I'm not at all a big qualified person to be thought of like that. So that made a very clarity point into my heart that Guru Maharaj is so clear, and he's got contacts with everybody, and he keeps things right to the minute level that we think that he doesn't remember, but actually he remembers a lot about us, all of us, all his disciples actually, and he always prays, and his prayers are very important for us, and it manifests in some way or the other, which gives us kavacha to protect us, and that's the love and care that he has got always, by which we fail to understand the magnanimity of his love and care. And we, of course, take many times we take him for granted, and we fail to understand his, let's say, strength that he's giving us. So also, going back to how meticulous Guru Maharaj is, and he's well read, and his intelligent Kushua, I would not give below 125, 130. I'll tell you the reason. This is 1986, the first World Congress we had, Synthesis Congress, where the Nobel laureates of the world were called. It was in Mumbai, in those days called Bombay. The Jew Temple had organized it. Bhaktivedanta Institute was spearheading it. His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami Maharaj was the main person, assisted by Rasraj Prabhuji, Kapila Prabhuji, Vijay Prabhuji, who was in Chennai now. He was also part of it, and many others. And this function was organized in a very grand manner in Mumbai, in one of the top chambers in Churchgate. And Guru Maharaj was the chief guest to inaugurate it. So he came a few days before. In those days, I used to stay in Jew Temple. I used to be like part of BI because all of them were engineers, and I would hardly go home. And sometimes only I would go. And I was spending my time in Jew Temple. we had one of the disciples of His Holiness Bhakti Surdam Maharaj. His name was Jiva Goswami Prabhu. He left his body, I think, 2002 in Delhi. So he used to be the person where I used to stay, and he was a personal servant of Maharaj also. So I remember very clearly when Maharaj came, he had his big woofers, and Surukdam Swami Maharaj had his kartas, and he would play it very differently. Like we would play like this, but he would hold the wrist like this, and it's flung it twice, and then he'll go very fast. So they would do some bhajans, and Guru Maharaj sometimes sing something in Bengali, and he would also sing in Manipuri style, and they would have like a sparring, together, and we would watch it. And one day, both of them came together in the same room, and after having bath at different places, and Srudam Swami was like, so much loving him, loving our Guru Maharaj, that he was about to apply tilak, but he took the tilak like that and just applied on Guru Maharaj, chak, chak. And Guru Maharaj applied on him also. Like, they were so caring, the God-brother relationship, and of course on the temple, then later they carried on. So it was so spontaneous. And they would discuss what they should do, how they should proceed, because all the people who they were going to address were the top notch of the world, the Nobel laureates of the world. 200 of them were coming. So there were no Google, there were no computers. Just in those days, there was one computer in the whole of Jew temple that belonged to Rasaj Prabhu, and it was very difficult to operate it also. It was a system operated, even if you log in, you have to do so much of pressing of so many factors before you got some input. It was very slow also. And we needed a lot of information. So there are some teams made to collect this information. So who had iCard, because we had membership in British Library, American Library, and there used to be Russian Library, the USSR Library. But USSR Library was more on mathematics, etc., but not on this stuff that they wanted. But of course, they had something. So those who had iCards were given this responsibility first to enter it. So I had the iCard also. So in one of the sessions, Guru Maharaj wanted to have some information, so I took him to the British Library. And first half we traveled in a rickshaw. Jew temple had a green color rickshaw in those days, and we traveled in that till Bandra, and then we took a cab because he was very conscious of saving money also. Then we went to the library, took notes, and from different books that are available in those days, and a lot of notes. And the next 2 days, I went personally to get it and give it back to Guru Maharaj. And you would not believe me, the lecture the introductory lecture when he gave, he was so perfect. Like the words he used were exactly like a scientist would use on quantum mechanics and quantum physics. I don't know how he managed all that and from where it came. Because whatever notes we collected from different magazines, etc., whatever Maharaj told me, told us some ideas. So we just presented. But Guru Maharaj went through all that, made a beautiful study. And during the course of the time, when this lecture was being given, the power went off, the electricity. For some time, everything came back after some time because they had a generator. But there was a gap. But his lecture, he didn't stop. He continued speaking, and his voice, I still remember, was so profound. Like, in those days, he had a very tough, rough voice, like, very soft and rough. And you could hear it, the decibel rates were very high. Only after the accident, the 89 attack on him, as his voice come down because it has affected his larynx. So this is how he was so much, you can say, intelligent CR person also. And he could match any of those top people, even in interaction, etc. In those last, I think it went on for 3-4 days, the seminars. He was there for 2 days at least, I remember. And then he left. So he had that knack to be at different places and mingle with people, show them their intelligence and his intelligence in one platter. And when he meets somebody who's just a neophyte devotee, he would come down to that level also, simultaneously without even effort. So this is how Guru Maharaj always makes sure that he never hurts anybody. He never pushes or shows that he is a big guru or he knows Srila Prabhupada for so many years. He's the longest serving sannyasi of ISKCON. He never puts any weight anywhere. I mean, you'll never see him doing that. In fact, he would chide you even if you raise your voice against somebody in front of him. I mean, he's very particular that we don't hurt anybody's feelings. He's very, very particular. And he goes out of the way to make sure that we don't get into that mood. And we have to observe him actually when you do that. And I like to also tell you about how some examples that he gives whenever we meet him. I remember once we were swimming and a swimming pool in Oman. I worked for 2-3 years in Oman also under the guidance of Vijay Venugopaal Prabhuji and Padmini Mataki. I used to be in the site actually, Karnataka, but I used to go to the main city also sometimes. One of the days, okay, let us do it like this. I was instructed by Vijay Venugopaal Prabhuji to pick up Guru Maharaj along with Shrikant Prabhuji and one more devotee. And he said, don't tell anybody, Guru Maharaj is coming, pick him up and bring it to my house. So I went along with them. But as the airport, when we went, we were shocked to see around 20-30 Bengali devotees. For no reason, I mean, they should be there. But somehow the news leaked out because when Venugopaal Prabhuji was mentioning this to one of the devotees, I think somebody overheard and the message went. And when Guru Maharaj came out, this will all be Dandavad Pranams and Haribol and all that. It was a big mess. Guru Maharaj was so angry, like, you could see his face, pink red. But he didn't say anything. He didn't look at it, just walked past and went to the car. And we went, and then he asked us who were responsible. Srikant was never saying anything. I got a whole front of the family right in the house. And then they were all going to tell me what this nonsense people had done. But we had no clue how this happened. We never told anybody. But later, of course, when he came to understand, it cooled down and things went well. At the same time, when we were having a swim, I used to swim sometime in the swimming pool in one of the places there. He had a rubber ball, I think. And somebody had it was heavy and it just sunk in. And this rubber ball, Guru Maharaj put it down into the water and just released it. And again, put it down and released it. And he's given an example saying that we should be in this world during our spiritual life endeavoring like this. He said that many times you will be made to sink in the water, but don't be like the iron part. You will go down. Be like the rubber ball. You go down, but you will never again come up. So, you would give some very practical examples how we should conduct ourselves, never give up. You wanted to show that, we have to be patient. We have to be endeavoring again and again. We have to be teaming up together. So all those things they would always teach about teamwork and how things should be done. Yeah, and even in swimming, etc., he had a very, very strong stamina. For minutes more or 2-3 minutes, he could immediately stay under the water without any problem. He had very good stamina during the time when he was in the best of physics, and he could easily outmaneuver any of the Olympic champs. Is what I feel. If they had really had a challenge with him, it was really good. Sometimes he was very caring even for the most smallest living entity. In Avtari Desh and UAE, when there was a walk in the Corniche and some other devotees along with him, early morning chanting. I forgot the year now, 2005 or 6, I think it was. So suddenly when Guru Maharaj, he had this danda, that one we all used to carry. So as they were walking very fast, he suddenly put his danda out and, made the devotee stop, full stop. And everybody was surprised, like, why did this happen? Like, why did he ask us to stop? So Guru Maharaj said, look down. So we all looked down and there were 2 lines of ants were crossing, And if we had not watched, we would have smudged or killed so many of them. So Guru Maharaj was so careful, like, and he was so observant that even at that speed and even at the cost of his, I can say, momentum being stopped, he didn't bother about his pleasure, but he wanted us not to get into an act by which, we would kill innocent. So he said that we have to be very careful even for the smallest and smallest of creatures else created by Krishna. So this is an example. I remember that, once walking with him, he was so particular about even the smallest ant should not be killed even by mistake. Forget about doing it deliberately. Then I remember Guru Maharaj also has an knack to keep everybody in the fold of ISKCON. There have been so many issues with ISKCON, like when we know many years back when the devotees started the new League of Devotees. They started the League of Devotees in Chowpatty, and they had broken away from ISKCON at the time. And later, they all were brought back by Guru Maharaj and His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. There's a culminating Rath Yatra in Chowpatty in 1994, where both merged together again. So there are a lot of efforts that he put to bring ISKCON back at different places, different times, in Malaysia, in South Africa, so many other different, I know Europe also, difficult times, difficult places, and so much of fights were on. But he would somehow the other manage. Even in Mayapur, you remember some years back, we had issue where things were going a little bad and the wrong track. But the moment he stepped in, everything calmed down, and he could bring things in control. So he knows everybody, like their mind and mood, and where to say what and what not to say, and he does it very perfectly. I mean, he doesn't go into any sort of a serious fight with anybody, but he's firm also in that same level. One of his godbrothers said, his name is Sikhimaiti Prabhuji. He's from USA. He had come to Shamdesh some years back, and you were mentioning that once he had left his corner such because of some internal politics, and he said, I stopped going to all the programs. And this news had reached Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. And one day, suddenly, he said at 4:35, I had a knock on my door, and my wife was still asleep, and I was only awake. And went to open the door, and there in front of me stood His Holiness. And I was shocked. He said, at this time. And actually, I had gone to USA at the time, and before he went to Panyati, he told the devotees that I want to meet Sikhimaiti Prabhu and talk to him. So he said that I was so surprised, and the way he came in and just listened. He was just listening to what my issue was. He never gave me any advice, but for 2-3 hours he sat with me, and my whole heart was relief of all the pain I had. And then he just suggested, I said, let's have prasadam today. You come for some time. And then I really didn't want to go because again I would be facing the same people there who had issues or some things in my mind. But Guru was so nice, and that I felt obliged, and I went for prasadam. And then slowly, 1 week he was there. Every day I would have prasadam, and then I slowly changed, and I came back to my normal listening. So Guru Maharaj is so nice, he doesn't leave anybody. He said that everybody is an asset for Krishna. Through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada has made his movement with great pain, and most of the disciples who have carried forward this with great pain. And now we are enjoying actually the fruits. We have not done anything much actually to ISKCON. We are like, during my young days, I had a colonel uncle, and he would come on his motorbike, the Enfield one, 350, 400cc, the big sound it would make. And me and my cousin and all, we would all sit on that. And sometimes he would take us for a drive. So during that time, we would make some sound, we'll make some sound. And we'll think that we are actually now driving this motorcycle, and we'll turn left, right, and make some another sound. Uncle would be doing all that for us. But we'll forget that we are actually not a controller, but we thought that we are actually driving the bike. So our situation is exactly like that. Guru Maharaj is all behind us, making us do so many things in a nice way. And we take credit for doing that. But actually, what we are able to do is only because he's guiding us, he's putting the brakes at the right place and accelerating at the right place. And we are just making those sounds, at the same way as I gave an example. So like that. So we have to be very thankful that, we have such a wonderful spiritual father who is endeavoring to keep us together in this material life in the best way possible, because all of us are suffering. Some of us have issues with our jobs, our parents, we have left them suddenly midway, and now we feel guilty sometimes, or we have left our folks, or maybe we're not giving enough time to the children. So many issues that we have physically and mentally. But everything, if you look at it, once you see Guru Maharaj and the way he's carrying himself, all our problems become as small as there's a saying, there's a sloka, samsarita ye padapalavam mahat padam punya shomurare bhava buddhir vasa padam param padam padam yat vidam nasisham. So one who has accepted the lotus to the Lord, all the material problems in the world become as small as water contained in a cow's footprint. The cow, when he walks in the muddy times, he makes small patches, and the water inside is very small. So the problems of crossing that water is hardly any, is insignificant. It's not a big problem to walk. So when we surrender to Krishna, Mukunda, to the spiritual master, our problems also become as small as that, and we are able to go forward. So this is how actually Guru Maharaj is handling things for everybody. And it's really, I mean, I would say, great miracle that of course he's there doing it. You can see miracles. People say it don't happen, but I can see it every day when I see Guru Maharaj. So he's of course a living miracle. And the doctor who treated him also, Dr. Ashok, he's a very rude personality. I met him very personally because he's treated one of my family members. I know him quite on a personal level. He's very blunt, tell you on the face, tak, 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 he'll tell you. But when Guru Maharaj was admitted, he said 2% chance. And the day he was discharged, he was going to Bhaktivedanta hospital. He was there to meet Guru Maharaj, and he told everybody, I have seen thousands of cases, but this is a miracle. So this is how, I mean, so even a doctor who's very professional has admitted that, miracles happen. And we should, of course, take that not on a face value, but seriously. I remember also Guru Maharaj was very much, welcomed. There is a godbrother of ours, I forgot his name unfortunately. He used to be working with the Rajya Sabha. He was a security in charge, and he was from Hyderabad or Bangalore, if I'm not mistaken. But in Delhi, he was stationed for a long time. And 97, when I was there once, I was sent by Venerable Prabhuji to meet Guru Maharaj for some reason. And I landed there. And this devotee took us, when Guru Maharaj was leaving, of course, he came to meet Guru Maharaj there. And he took us right till the center of the immigration to the security, just without any issues, And the commissioner of the police at the time was the ACP or somebody came to meet Guru Maharaj, and he was so impressed with Guru Maharaj that he was talking to him for a very long time. And Guru Maharaj gave prasad to all the police guys, everybody. And at that time, I remember him having a chanting back with Hanumanji on that. And everybody was asking, like, why you are keeping Hanuman? So he was telling him that Hanumanji is one of the best servants of the Lord. That's why I like to be following his footsteps. This is the answer he gave. He didn't say that he is Bhakta and all that. He didn't say that. So this is the explanation he gave them. And he was welcomed by everybody, like senior people there and all. He used to come back and forth, they would stop him for prasadam and even make sure that he would carry a lot of prasadam. Prasadam from his side also changes many people's life. I have one very clear example of in Oman days. I was staying near to sea, and very near to that there used to be a sea beach. And one of the times Guru Maharaj went there for a walk. We were all there, Govinda Prabhu and many others were walking and things. And he was distributing some prasadam, and some boys came from there who were local boys, the Omani boys. And out of that, I think they were the local fisher folk kids. He gave them also some sweet goodies, cookies, something. And one of them, his name was Mohammed. And he said Haribol to him. And Mohammed also repeated Haribol. He must have been maybe 8, 9-year-old boy or 10. So a year later, I had gone for a walk with one of our godbrothers. And when I was crossing, I saw this boy, and he also saw us. And maybe for some reason, because I was chanting back in our hand that time, he understood that, and he came for the goodie. He thought we would also be having something. But I was surprised that when he came, he said Haribol. So so that had gone into the heart of this person just by once that he heard from Guru Maharaj. I mean, if we had told or anybody had told you, happened. But the strength of his prasadam and his mercy is so profound, Just a small example, like, to remember how he can, convince anybody and get everybody through. Sorry. Guru Maharaj also sometimes used to get angry. Angry in the sense, externally angry, but he would cool down very fast. I had 2 instances. One is this one I told you all when we went to receive him in the Oman airport, and all the Bengali devotees were there. That day he was extremely angry, but he immediately after some time he cooled down. Second time I remember he was a little upset in 2006, and he was doing initiation in Avtari race, that is Abu Dhabi, and he had a flight to take around 1:30 from Dubai, and he was getting quite late. Because the drive was nearly 2 hours from there, and checking, etc. So, no, it was an early morning flight. I think 3 o'clock, sorry. So, but at least by 12, he should be at the airport, so that he can do all that thing. And I was in the room, and for some reason, we were not able to convince Guru Maharaj to start winding up. He had no servant that time. So all of us tried to be his servant, So in one of the sessions, when everybody was pushing him, I don't know what happened. I told Guru Maharaj, you will miss your flight. So he looked at me very angrily and he said, don't I know what I'm doing? So I felt very thing, and he was very strong. The way normally you wouldn't speak like that. And I just kept quiet, and we all moved to the side. And Guru Maharaj kept on his laptop and working. But after 10 minutes, he looked. So we went inside. He said, yes, Guru Maharaj, it's ready. So he said, Radhabhav, bring it. So he brought it. I brought the thing, and so feed me. So I was like taken aback. He said, okay, nowadays we feed Guru Maharaj because he's not able to eat properly. But in those days, he was healthy, and feeding him was like you can say a boon out of the skies. So I was feeding him with a fork and spoon and giving him, and sometimes in the mouth, very reluctantly, and wiping, assisting, and all. And I kept something on it so he could still work. When he wanted to show that he was busy, but he also wanted to show that he cared. And I still have that photo of mine. I have not circulated to anybody, but if somebody comes to my place, I don't know how to do that. It'll be embarrassing. But I still have that photo where I'm feeding. So you can see the mood of Guru Maharaj. The way he's like. Externally, he may be very strict and all, but internally, he's very soft. He's very soft, and he always has the whole world in his heart. For him, there is no time for himself, but for others, he always has time. Even if the last moment, even his plane is being late, or even has to rush, he will still wait, give blessing to somebody, or think of somebody. Even in Sharjah, sometime when he's late, it's very difficult. The traffic is very horrible. But there are one or two devotees who had very health problem. There's one person who had a kidney transplant, and he went to see him at last moment, change the plan. Somehow, like that compassion cannot be you can be. I cannot talk and tell you it. You have to experience it actually to understand at the time how he does it. We can always talk about it, but the real depth when you see him doing it, it's really mind-boggling. So I was told this class should have been maybe 15 minutes, and I think I've already come to that. So I would request the person. Of course, I can speak for a long time. Guru Maharaj's mercy is always profound, and hear from all of you all also. So lovingly, you all must be having so many memories of him, and treasuries, I can say treasures. So I would also like to hear some time. So Prabhu, I'll take it back to you. So thank you all very much for joining.
Thank you.
And if anybody would like to share or say something, I'm here.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful session. And definitely we can have part 2, session 2 as well. Like you're saying, is so many pastimes and you are there in the moment for so long. And definitely maybe someday if I, by Guru Maharaj's grace, if I come to visit Shamdesh, I'll definitely come to see that photo you would take. Yeah. So devotees, if any devotee is having any questions, so I have enabled like you can unmute. So if any devotee wants to ask something, so now is the time. Maybe you can raise hand so that it's more streamlined.
Are most of the devotees from Bangalore, or are they all? I don't know many of them by name. Baltarani Mati, I think, is there. I can see.
Hare
At least I know some. So some are from Delhi side also.
Okay.
Some from Bangalore.
Chitramalini Mati.
Different places, Prabhuji.
Siropalika Mati also is there.
Chitramalini Madhu.
Yeah, I know Siropalika Mati also. I think. Yeah. Who else is
Hare
there?
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams.
Where are you now, Mati?
In Coimbatore, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Thanks for the wonderful session, Prabhuji. You just took us back. I could visualize, whatever you said. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare
Siropalika
Krishna.
Mati also was part of Shamadesh long time back. And of course, her brother, wonderful soul who left straight to Goloka from Mayapur, was also a very close friend of mine, Jagannath Prabhu, Shamdal Jagannath Prabhu. It is nearly 2 years. I think on the 1st of February he left in 2021, right?
Yes, Prabhuji. 1st of
2 years.
February 2021.
So 2 years have passed so fast.
2 years have passed. Yeah, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, we would also like to see the picture, Prabhuji.
I think he will.
When you come to Shamadesh, I'll show you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranams, Chitramalini
Hare
with you.
Krishna,
Yeah,
Prabhuji.
how are you keeping?
I'm good Prabhu, how are you?
Very good. How's Siddharth? Is he in town or in Canada?
No, he's still there in Toronto.
Acha, okay. How's Prabhu's health is fine?
He's okay, he's managing.
Okay.
He's okay.
Right.
Nice
to
listening, Prabhu, and hearing the glories of Guru Maharaj from your mouth. It was really took us back many years to Shamadesh.
Yeah.
Thank
There's a lot of Shamadesh nectar also, but then I thought I'll just leave it this time.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna,
Amrita,
Hare Bol.
Thank you.
Hare.
Where are you based, Mati?
Ahmedabad, Gujarat.
Okay. Okay. Came to the Majama.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Majama. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. हरे कृष्णा हरि बोल। आप बहुत बहुत भाग्यशाली हो, आप गुरु महाराज के साथ इतना समय बिताया आपने और आपको इतना सारा मर्सी मिला, बहुत सच में। हरि बोल हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा हरि बोल।
Thank you. So shall we end?
I think devotees don't have any questions, so then maybe we'll yes, Prabhuji, as you're saying, we can end here.
Thank you.
So we would like to thank Prabhuji for giving such a wonderful session to us today, and especially I like the analogy of bike that you gave. So that really inspires me to to myself, push myself to to do some more services for Guru Maharaj and do some more activities for his pleasure. So thank you, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful session.
Thank you.
And we would like to thank Prabhuji by chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे
राम
हरे।
राम
हरि बोल हरि बोल
हरि बोल।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much.
जय गुरु महाराज की
जय। हरे कृष्ण प्रभुजी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरि बोल हरि बोल।
Pranams,
हरे कृष्ण
Prabhuji.
प्रभुजी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
प्रणाम. Thank you.
धन्यवाद।
I'll take your leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
हरे कृष्णा
Thank you,
हरि
Prabhuji, for
बोल।
wonderful session. Thank you very much.
हरे कृष्णा, सब भक्तों को दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे कृष्ण प्रभुजी।
हरि बोल हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा माता जी हरि बोल।